Toyota's working on contingency plans for Kyle Busch. All that and more coming up next. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good this Wednesday. Obviously, Chicago broke yesterday. It is official. I've already made a video on Chicago. I really don't have anything extra to add to it, but I will link that video to the end of this video, but I'm not going to make an extra video on Chicago because I feel like I've already covered everything I wanted to cover on that. So I will, at the end of this video, I will put a link to that one. Anyway, but let's take a look at these interesting comments from a Toyota about Kyle Busch, where they said they're making contingency plans if they don't sign him. It's getting kind of interesting, guys. This article from Dustin Long at NBC Sports. While Toyota and Joe Gibbs Racing remain committed to Kyle Busch to a contract extension, a Toyota executive told NBC Sports that they are contingency planning. David Wilson, president of Toyota Racing Development, said the manufacturer and JGR are trying to find a path to keep the two-time Cup champion with them, Busch's home since 2008. If there's not sponsorship there, maybe we can create a bridge somewhere, Wilson said. If not, Busch could be headed elsewhere. It's a notion that seemed implausible earlier this year, but Busch told reporters last weekend at New Hampshire Motor Speedway that he's talked with other teams. We have contingency plans, Wilson said. Rest assured, we're thinking about every way this can go. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if this is some type of tactic to put pressure back on Kyle Busch, or if this is just really the dumbest possible thing you can say if you're David Wilson, the Toyota president, because you shouldn't even be entertaining the fact that Kyle Busch is leaving. You should be doing everything in your power to get this guy signed. Kyle Busch is the Toyota brand. He is the most synonymous driver, unless you want to count Denny Hamlin. I think Kyle Busch is the most synonymous driver with Toyota. When you think Toyota, you think of either that green or yellow 18, and you think Kyle Busch. And he's basically their only multiple-time champion at Toyota, so I don't see where you can really let this guy go without some type of backfire. This would almost be like Dale Earnhardt at the end of his career going to Ford or Dodge or somebody like that. It would just be unthinkable to a lot of people. So not that it hasn't happened before. We've seen Bill Elliott go from Ford. Bill Elliott was basically the Ford man. He went to Dodge and actually became the Dodge man basically for a little while. We've seen Dale Jarrett leave Ford and go and be a Toyota guy for a couple years at the end of his career. So it's not unheard of, but it's definitely not something that you want to let happen, because in both of those situations, there were a lot of fans that were very hurt because they were diehard Ford or, but in those two cases, I guess Ford fans, and then they had to watch their guy go to Dodge or Toyota in the case of Dale Jarrett. So I don't think this would be a good situation for Toyota to let this happen. Let's look a little bit further into the article. The issue for Joe Gibbs Racing is that it has not been able to secure sponsorship for Busch next season. Until that is done, the organization is not likely to sign Busch to a new deal. JGR has been searching for a sponsor since Mars Inc. announced that, and in December, that this would be the final season for the team in the sport. A potential sponsor fell through earlier and reset the sponsorship search. Wilson said that there have been talks with a number of sponsors. I use the baseball analogy in that a couple of months ago, it was much easier to imagine success, and we had some partners that we thought we were going to land, Wilson told NBC Sports. And that was the bottom of the third inning of a 9-inning game. Now we're in the bottom of the seventh, and the fact is we don't have it. It doesn't get easier, that's for certain. For Kyle, I feel terrible because the distraction, I think he admitted this, but the distraction now is real. While I say Kyle is one of those athletes that can strap on his helmet and put that aside, he's still human. So my counsel to him was around the partnership and how important this remains for Toyota and for Coach Gibbs. Made sure he knew we hadn't given up, just urged him to keep his head in the game and maintain a collaborative perspective, because we're going to need him to get this done as well. It's a different marketplace, and we're facing some headwinds with the economy that everybody is facing. So two bits that are interesting there. They said they had a sponsor, which would lead us to believe that's why they said they felt like they were close a few weeks ago, right? A few weeks ago, they said they were close to getting this deal done. They said they had a sponsor, but the sponsor fell through. So that means they felt like they had it done, but then the sponsor fell through, and now they had to go back to step one. But that contradicts something they said earlier where they said we had multiple sponsors, but we're looking for the right one. So that completely rejects that, in my opinion, because they said they had a sponsor and it fell through. That sounds like they had one sponsor they were working on and it fell through. It contradicts an earlier statement. They said, oh, we've got multiple sponsors. We're just trying to pick the right one to line up with Kyle Busch. I knew that was BS when they said it, but basically, he confirmed it was BS there. The more they talk about it, the more the BS rolls out. But the other interesting point there was that he said, hey, we've talked to Kyle. We know it's a distraction to Kyle. So they're now admitting that this has been a distraction to Kyle Busch this season. And they said to stick with it, hang in there. So on one hand, he comes out and says, we're making contingency plans if we don't sign him. On the other hand, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth saying, hey, Kyle, hang in there. We need you. We got to have you. We can't do this without you, bud. Like, so he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. And I just, at this point, I don't know if I can trust anything that David Wilson says. Because like I said, he said they had multiple sponsors when he only really had one. And when that sponsor fell through, they are back at 0. So he said he's in the 7th inning of a 9th inning game. We'll see how this plays out, but let's look at the rest of the article. The question is where Busch would go. Stewart-Haas Racing has an opening after Eric Almirola announced before the season that this would be his last full-time Cup ride, but the notion of Almirola returning to keep sponsor Smithfield on board is gaining momentum. If Busch left, Ty Gibbs would be a natural choice, even though Joe Gibbs has said that the organization seeks to keep the 19-year-old in the Xfinity Series another year. But with 8 wins in his first 36 races at a 22% winning percentage, maybe it would be better to have him move up. All right, so that last part is basically Dustin Long speculating, but he has come to the same conclusion that I have come to. If a team takes him, I think the only one that can really afford Kyle Busch's paycheck would be Stewart-Haas Racing, whether they put him in the 10 or whatever they're going to number that car. Another option that they would have if Kyle Busch leaves is to put Ty Gibbs in that car. Who else would they put in that car at this point? Maybe John Hunter Nemechek, but it would be hard to believe John Hunter Nemechek, if Kyle Busch was let go, would come from a Kyle Busch truck to replace Kyle Busch in the 18, but who knows? But I think either one of those two guys would probably be your best bet if Toyota replaced him. Outside shot that they go with a really young guy like Corey Heim or maybe just somebody else in their program. But the other interesting thing is 2311 is also on the table. I think Toyota would explore every option to keep Kyle Busch, and 2311 seems to have no problem attracting sponsors. I think so. It is also possible that you could see Kyle Busch somehow land over there at 2311 if Joe Gibbs can't get the deal done, but I think both of those scenarios would be highly, highly unlikely. I still remain committed that Kyle Busch is 90-something% going to re-sign and be with that 18, but this is very interesting that they've publicly admitted that all their contract negotiations have basically blown up and they have started back at point 0. All right, like I said, I will link the Chicago video that I've already made a few weeks ago to the end of this. But if you made it this far, feel free to subscribe down below. I appreciate the subscription. Man, it helps out the channel so much, and I really, really do appreciate all of you guys that are already subscribed as well. If you got a comment or question, leave it down in the comment section. I will try to get to them, and other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.